I'm Riley Harvey for V-Cycling News, and this is the Thursday night PRT handicap race. So tonight we are on the Pulteney Possum course, so taking part in the handicap race. For those of you who aren't familiar, the handicap is based upon a platform where everybody has either a weight penalty or a benefit that enables them to be more competitive on the road. It really means that more people could compete together and can take part in a race, whereas normally you'd have the elite riders flying off the front and leaving the rest of the field behind. With the handicap race, the better riders carry extra weight and the weaker riders carry a weight benefit, so they are slightly lighter, enabling them to compete better against the other riders. Benefits of this really are that, you know, the guys who are stronger can enjoy a better experience, they can race against more people, and the guys who are weaker, they can take part in these races and battle against those who are perceived to be stronger than them. We're just with Lou Gelling here. Lou, frequent flyer with the PRT races, the handicap races. She's a great rider, phenomenal on the hills, and the handicap races, fortunately for Lou, generally have quite a few hills in them. So we can see we've got a long flat section here before we start hitting those red points. Little kicker in this middle bit here, then it jumps up and we have some red sections, tend to be the sort of 10% sections plus, and that's where you'll see Lou will be really pushing and going for it on those sections, using her watts wisely. She's hooking up with Katie Warren there. Quite often the team PRT girls have a good showing in these races. They make an effort to get out there and work together. Run up to the front of this race, we're hitting this 5.7% little slope here. Now we see Richard Akers of the RIAC group there, RIAC Coaching, is on the front of this race. He's obviously feeling fresh today. He's been taking part in some of these races as we've been going on. Skipped last week's, but I know that he's finding them really enjoyable and really challenging. He's trying to get some more of his friends, colleagues, clients to get involved in the online racing scene and to get involved in the PRT handicap races as well. So Richard here has opened up a lead of about 30 metres. Expect that will come down when we hit the hills. Just looking back in the group there, we've got a bigger pack behind, giving chase, hunting down here. Shields, Hutchinson, Stuart Ludlow, Bukowski, Darren Ray of the Team Lou Racing Group, and just going off the front there we've got Reynolds. Reynolds, new name to me for the PRT team. He's wearing the PRT kit. I'm not sure if it's actually a team PRT racer. He's not too far off the front there. He's just hanging in second position there. Very difficult to make a break on these races. The drafting dynamics work really well on RGT, and you do tend to find, unless you really give it the beans and push incredibly hard, all that you do is you just give someone your draft and you drag them along with you. Darren pushing forward, keep at the front of this group. Woods is at the back there. Quite a tight group in here. 17 in this group. And Richard still hanging off the front with 30 metres there at the front. This, personally speaking, I'd probably say it'd be wise for Richard to drop back here and join in with this group behind him. I don't think he's got enough here to... Oh, and as I say that, I'm just catching up. I don't know whether he's eased off there. I think Richard's got enough to go all the way. There is another 19 kilometres of this race remaining. And it'd be an amazing achievement to be able to go from this to the finish with a 30 metre lead against a hunting pack as Darren Ray takes the lead. You see there someone sporting the Dirt Dad's racing kit. That's Shields. The Dirt Racing Team Dad's Inside Riding Turbos is what it stands for. Christopher Schwenker, who's a big contributor over on the V-Cycling News Facebook page, is very involved with the Dad's Inside Riding Turbos. Sorry, it might be Riding Trainers actually. Dad's Inside Riding Trainers. And they have a charity there as well to help out some of the guys that might not be as fortunate as others. So just drop back from this lead group. You can see it's actually this group, I think it's growing now. I think the group's Barker there. Barker's a good rider. He's on those races. And Almeida. And Rychek there, one of the Moon Riders. Moon Riders Tour is running tonight again in the Americas time zone. That's being covered by my colleague Jim Lawyer. He's doing the American time zones of a lot of the events now, trying to popularize the RGT platform in America. There are quite a few users over there, but trying to get them all together to make these events a bit busier and get more people involved in them. Kind of a weird thing, you don't get people getting involved until there's people involved. So it's kind of a bit difficult to do sometimes. David Brookhousen's in that group there wearing the orange, and I'm not sure if the other rider in orange next to him there is Chris Bancross. It's Wooters. Those groups bobbing along, they're staying fairly close together. Titcombe dropping out the back there. Nutt dropped back into 19th position now. He's 93 metres away. I very much doubt he'll be able to recover that sort of gapping. And then we've got another group in here. Jessen, Lou Gelling, Chris Shackleton, Tartaruga, Neep. I am on the Facebook stream as well tonight, guys, so if you've got any comments that you want to make, anything you want me to mention over the stream, if you give me a shout, I'll read your question out, and well, if it is a question, I'll read the question out, answer it, or I'll zoom in on a particular rider, follow anybody that you want to keep an eye out on for maybe you're scoping out the competition for the next race. I believe Will's watching the race. He's not feeling too great today. He's had his booster jab and suffering a little bit of a side effect from that. Just go past Landman there. Landman seemed to have a little bit of a technical there. He's dropped down to 0 watts. Back with Jonathan Wales and Tranter here. Yeah, Landman going over to the side there. Dropping back in with the bots here. Will always adds in some bots to help out some of the riders at the back. You can see we've got Ian Hurst, Bent, and I think I saw Robin Druitt's name flash by there briefly as well, in with this pack. And we've got Van Leest there, and then just a bit further back with Jeff. I think that may be the last of the real riders on the road at the moment. We'll check back with some of those riders as well. Andre Ferrara's just checking in on the live stream. Unfortunately, he had an update issue today, and I nearly had one of those myself. I ran out of hard drive space. There was an update today, which I'm not sure if any of you have been keeping up to date with the RGT. We had the switch over to the One app with some inevitable problems, but that's been cured by, well, not cured, and many of the small niggles have been resolved by the app update that's been sent out today, but unfortunately it has been forced on many of us, and if you weren't prepared for that, then you may have had issues getting that done. But we are hoping that this app update is going to cure a lot of the issues that riders were suffering from just recently after the switch over to the One app platform. As we see Shields there, he's pushing on at the front. Darren Ray still in this group. He's been doing really well in the last few races, Darren. Been going halfway in the front group and then dropping back a little bit, see how far he can make it tonight. We're coming up to a little bit of a kicker, then a flat spot, and then into one of the punishing climbs. It's been pretty flat so far this race. For those who aren't aware of how the watt per kilogram works, the idea is that you take a recent FTP test and you divide your FTP by 3.2, and that will give you a weight that you input into the game, and it should normalise your power output at around about 3.2 watts per kilogram. But the problem with watts per kilogram is that watts per kilogram only really count when you're climbing. So on the flat, your watts per kilogram don't really affect you, because, as I've been using the analogy recently, if you're pushing a car, if you're on the flat, you can get that car running, rolling, 1 ton of car, 1 man. You can get it up to a decent speed, enough to get it pump started and get underway. As soon as you get any kind of an incline, that car all of a sudden weighs all of its 1 ton, and that's how the handicap works basically on these races. On the flat, you'll see that the guys who are carrying a weight penalty, they'll be pushing like crazy and they'll be doing pretty well on the flats regardless of their weight penalty. But as soon as we start hitting these inclines, then you'll see those guys struggling and dropping back. You'll see the power bars going red if they have set their FTP correctly in game, and you'll see the guys who are perhaps not the strongest riders but have got the weight benefit, they've lost weight for this race. You'll see them coming up to the front. And Will's just said it's Ed Hume's first race tonight, so we'll try and hunt out Ed Hume. And I being told it's possibly Harriet Rosethorn, who's the first lady in the front group. Well, let's see if we can find Ed Hume. Give him a little bit of airtime tonight. We're just hitting a 13% slope here. Really crushing the legs of these guys after that bit of pain that they've been having on the flats. See Richard Akers there pushing on W Shields, and Desault there pushing through to the front. Desault in the red there, pushing through to the front. And just checking out the heart rate on Desault. Desault doesn't have a heart rate registered. If you are thinking of doing racing in RGT and thinking of taking it seriously, really do recommend you getting yourself a heart rate monitor. It just means that the guys you're competing against, they can see that you're really putting those efforts in, and see that they're realistic and that you're trying. Unfortunately, we do get some cheating on RGT. We get cheating on all virtual platforms. It seems like it's a little bit more accepted because you're not seen doing it. Yeah, if you get yourself a heart rate monitor, then it gives a bit more. See Wachowski there, pushing on 163 heart rate. You can see that someone's putting the effort in when the heart rate's going up. They're not using an e-bike, etc. And Richard there, Riak, put 161. Darren Ray, 156. He's just going into his orange power bar now, settling into this climb. And he's probably just taking it steady, deciding not to blow up on this. Reynolds, Rychek, Hutchinson, David Brookhausen, Almeida, Tataruga, Wooters and Tickham. And then we see Harriet Rosethorn just keeping company with Lou there. As I say, Lou's enjoying this hill now, 10.9% slope, and he's just pushing on and tearing the second group apart. Harriet trying to stay on the wheel there. It'll be a good wheel to stick to. I think Harriet is using the male avatar, possibly. Yeah. Obviously, there's no need for you to use a female avatar, but just make it easier when someone's commentating, just to differentiate every now and again. Lots of personalisation you can do in the RGT app when you go into the equipment section. That's Matt Jones there, Stuart Ludlow, and Nutt, who was just in the no man's land between the front group and the second group. He's dropped back a little bit further as Chris Shackleton comes past him. We've got Jessen, Katie Warren, and there's Ed Hume. Ed Hume taking part in his first race on RGT tonight, or possibly just his first handicap race, wearing the Our Giro Cycling Podcast jersey there. Nice bright pink colour. And just drop back and give everyone a name check here. We've got Neep, Bent, a little bit of a group back here. We've got Tranter, Jonathan Wales, Van Leest. And we've got a big group of bots here with a couple of riders mixed in. We see Jeff there, who's made a little bit of progress up the pack. Not seen Bev Usher as yet. I hope he's racing tonight. He usually races on Thursday nights. Oh, and that's it for the... we're just coming up to the front again. We see Barker is taking the lead here. A little bit of a selection on this group is looking like we've dropped down to 4 with Barker, Wachowski, Riak, and Desault. Riak is Richard Akers. Runs under Richard Riak, which is Riak is his training group. They run rides on a Wednesday for those who are looking to improve their FTP. They also support some of the training plans within RGT. As the result comes to the front here, slopes easing off somewhat, down at 3.4% now. Wachowski, Barker just on the back of this group, and then we've got a gapping of 83 meters to Shields. This is where it becomes interesting. You see whether the riders decide that they're going to work as a unit together, or whether they're going to try and beat each other up. Barker coming through here. Shields closing down that gap slightly on this flatter section. Wachowski has taken the lead and is eased off slightly. There's a big flat section here. Small kickers in the middle. Oh, it's looking like, I've just heard news over on a Facebook group that it looks like Guy Hepner, who's always challenging at the front of these races, fantastic rider, carries around about 20 kilogram weight penalty into these races, but always is up near the front. It looks like he may have had a Wi-Fi drop, unfortunately. RGT is a little bit susceptible to issues with Wi-Fi. It's all controlled on the main router back at RGT headquarters, so having your information transferred to and from that route is quite important, and being able to have a wired connection will ensure that you've got a better, more seamless experience with RGT. Wi-Fi does work, but you know, Wi-Fi can be a little bit challenging with all the devices that we have nowadays. I don't think Wi-Fi is kept at pace with the amount of load that's getting put on it. So we see Wachowski here now opening up a lead. He's managed to open up 60 meters on the group behind. So it could be that Wachowski is one of those heavier riders and is enjoying this flat section now. He's managed to keep up with the lead group on the climb, and he's now enjoying this flatter section. Oop, as we come underneath the section of the road here, a little bit of an overhang of the road there. We're going to go round and back up and over that section. Now, for those who are new to the RGT platform, not quite sure what we're riding on here now, this is a magic road. It's what RGT referred to as a magic road. It is a road that's been created from a GPX. So GPX is essentially just random dots on a map. They carry with them information of altitude and longitude and latitude. If you put enough of those into the computer, then RGT will join the dots like a dot to dot and create a road for you. That road can be anywhere in the world. It can be totally fictional. We did a race the other night which was looking like a snowflake, and that was created completely by a computer program itself that the machines are learning. But RGT have made it really easy. You create one of these GPXs, or you can use a GPX from a route that you've actually ridden in real life. You add it to an email, you send it over to magicroads@rgtcycling.com, and ping, minutes later you get a message back saying we've created a road for you, you want to ride it. And it gives you something like this. The scenery is created from the computer's own thoughts, and it works out where it's going to stick the trees and the rocks, and you can get some really interesting effects. There are some magic roads on the magicroads.org website, which are completely amazing, and the scenery with the hills dropping off, the cliff dropping off. I've just been told that we're going through the campus section at Bath Uni at the moment, and in the distance there you see Richard seeing the halfway marker. He's just putting a little burst of speed there as he's seeing the halfway marker. I'm not sure, possibly he thought it's the finish line, he's taken a little bit of a sprint, or whether he's decided this is a great point to drop the rest of the pack. The other thing with the handicap on these races which is a little bit different to how a lot of the other races play out on RGT, is that it makes you concentrate a lot more on the natural push points, shall we say, the hill climbs, the sharp turns that create the auto braking, and that gives you different points where you'd attack. It's not like in a normal race where you can basically, if you've got the legs, you can just push at any point in the race. When you've had your power normalized like this race, you really need to use the features to the best benefits. You need to be burning your watts at absolutely the right time. And Richard's just put a push on there to try and catch up with first place, and I would have liked to have seen him do that before this descent. Descending, it's incredibly hard to make any difference by pedalling. Just drop back again. See Barker and Desault there, they're riding together. So they're going to have the benefit of riding as a pair, even if they're not pushing on this hill. The drafting effect will slingshot one of them through to the front, then the other one will benefit from the drafting effect, and they'll get a slingshot through to the front, and they'll just carry on doing that sort of yo-yo effect, gaining 3 watts at each point. See Desault at the moment there, he's gaining about 500 watts as he rolls through, takes the front. Barker instantly slingshot to the front again. That would indicate to me that Barker is actually the heavier rider on this. Desault is actually having to put in a bit of effort to keep on his wheel. To see that Richard has gained that placing with Wachowski on the front. The two of them together, 70 metres clear of Desault and Barker. Shields now 150 metres behind. Shields is stuck in no man's land. He's got 100 metres on the guys in front of him, but he's 500 metres ahead of the riders behind. Interesting to see what he decides to do, whether he's going to try and solo TT this all the way to the finish line. As we just come through and into this next climb. Oh, see Wachowski's had a technical there. Wachowski has dropped out of the race, which leaves Richard at the front with no support. He's being closed in by Desault and Barker now. Desault and Barker, as soon as this climb's taken hold, Desault has really pushed on there, and he's closing that gap to Richard Akers. Barker, third wheel there, looking like he might be distanced. Richard going into his red power bar there, he's putting in the effort. He doesn't want to be caught by Desault. He wants to make it over this climb solo. Shield closed in slightly, 75 metres back. Desault, Barker back together again. Riak with a gap of 21 metres. Wachowski will be kicking himself for that. Presumably a power drop, he might have dropped a chain. Numerous reasons. We just go over a slight cresting there. The gradient drops down to 5% before it starts kicking up again. We're up at 9.5% now. There's Barker moved into second wheel, and he's giving chase to Richard. I'm going to drop back down through the group. See Shields now, he's 100 metres away, but there is a big hill climb here. He could perform well on this climb. Hutchinson just coming into this climb with Reynolds on his wheel, and behind him we've got Titcombe, Lou Gelling moving forward all the time. Every time you hit one of these hills, Lou pushing on. She's got David Brookhausen with her there. Wooters. Right check of the Moon Riders. They've just got a leader pushing forward on this slight descent. Darren Ray drop back a little bit now into 14th position. Just saving those matches. You can see Ian Hurst behind him. That's a good ride from Ian Hurst here, coming up to 15th position. Chris Shackleton out the saddle, pushing hard. Harriet Rostern. Jones in 18th. Ed Hume 19th. Jessen 20th. Got Nutt 21st, lost another couple of places since earlier on, and Bent 22nd. We've got Katie Warren back in 23rd position. Neep and Van Leest. Neep just struggling there as these gradients touching 12.5%. We've got Stuart Ludlow, Jonathan Wales 27th and 26th position. Tranter in 28th, and Jeff in 32nd position. Head back up to the front to see how Richard is getting on the front of this race. So Richard not able to shake Barker and Desault, but Barker and Desault still not able to close that gap to him. You saw Richard there just taking a look behind. So that look behind feature, you can see the avatar turn his head around, and that means that the rider has used the look behind feature to see how much of a gap they've got, and Richard will have seen that Desault and Barker are not shook there. Depending on how much he's got in the tank here, you'd want to push for this crest to try and be clear of them and to be enjoying the descent on your own. As we've just seen, our Barker looking strong as he moves up to the front, 4.4 watts per kilogram. Desault slightly distanced, he's only got 3.8 watts per kilogram showing. As I say, on these hill climb sections, it is the watt per kilogram that you want to be looking at. If you're on the flatter sections, it is the raw watts that you want to see, but on these hill climb sections, it's the watts per kilogram that really matters. We see Barker pushing out 4.5 watts per kilogram, and Richard being distanced slightly, he's averaging around about 4 watts per kilogram there. Well, he's just seen that the gap's open and he's putting in a little bit more of an effort now. Coming towards this crest, if you want to be in with a chance of winning now, I think you really need to be cresting together with the leader and gapping everyone else behind you. Willisher just giving me some information from the sidelines, and he's saying that this is the time to make the move. Barker and Richard both heavy with handicap, so getting over this hill and being able to enjoy the descent with the enforced weight will be really worth it for them. So they're both easing off slightly as the gradient just slightly eases, going down to 9% on the gradient now. Richard putting in a last little push, but 4.1 watts per kilogram now, trying to close that gap down to Barker before the final crest. Decreasing elevation now down at 11.6, just jumped up there. We were down at 7 degrees, now back up to 11.6 as Richard's made contact with Barker again, but Barker once again goes into the red and pushes for this crest. Go over, starting to see the gradient ease, 3.4% now. Richard still pushing it into the yellow. He's got to make that catch and drop back to see Richard's drafting bar. He's got 5.2. He started saving watts now. He started saving watts on Barker. 24 watts, 25 watts. He's just hooking that tow rope up, sitting in on the wheel of Barker now. And we're starting the descent, minus 11% now, heading down this hill. Desault already distanced. These two heavy riders pushing on. They've opened up a gap of 128 metres over Desalt now. I think these riders will stay together at this point, so I'm just going to flick back to some of the other riders on the road. You see Desalt there, still having to push to maintain speed on this descent. Shields in 4th position, 750 metres on Desalt, but only 13 metres back to Tartaruga, who's really pushed hard on this climb. Over the top now, see who can keep the power on, if Tartaruga is going to make that catch with Shields before it starts the true descending. We're at minus 6.6% now. Shields still pushing the power now, knowing he wants to get away from Tartaruga. We're looking back now, and this is a fantastic ride by Ian Hurst, Team 3R. He's caught up with Hutchinson, but Ian has come all the way from the back of the pack now. This must be a course that's really playing to his strengths. He's pushing hard and he's up there with Hutchinson. He's really enjoying this course. Let's see how he goes on this descent. Often speak to the riders in between the races, and I know for the lighter riders, one of the things that they've been concentrating on is making the catch before the descent, because if you go over the top with a heavier rider and you're not really absolutely glued to that wheel, you are going to get distanced by the heavier rider no matter how hard you push, and you're going to find it hard to hook back on again. But Ian's just not quite made the catch with Hutchinson there, but Hutchinson is pushing hard and doesn't appear to be distancing Ian Hurst very much at all here, so I suspect on the next green section and the next climb, Ian is going to overhaul Hutchinson here. I doubt that he's going to make it much further than 6th position. The next rider up the road is Tartaruga, and he's considerably far away, but nevertheless, fantastic ride by Ian Hurst here. Dropping back to Ticken now, also on the descent. Ticken's been caught there by David Brookhausen and Lou Gelling. Now, I'm not on the team Discord chat tonight. There is a Discord group that goes on for the PRT events. Well worth joining for a bit of fun on the events, so that you know that you're not suffering alone. And it can occasionally be a bit sweary, but it is good to hear the pain and suffering of all the other riders that you're with. Back with Almeida now in 11th position. He's done pretty well on this climb as well. Reynolds in 12th. See Rosethorn and Shackleton there working together. And Wooter's been isolated 430 metres to Rosethorn, and he's got 310 metres back to the group of Darren, and got Darren, Hume, Ed Hume, Jones and Bent here. And Nutt just dropping back a little bit further again on the road. He was up near the front runners at the beginning of this race. Perhaps he's misjudged it slightly and burnt too many matches trying to stay with that front group. Jessen, 21st position. Katie Warren, 22nd position. She's got Jonathan Wales closing in, a teammate. Perhaps give her a little bit of a tow on this flatter section. A bit of help up the next incline. We've got Van Leest and Rychek. Stuart Ludlow. He's dropped back a little bit, just coming over the crest. Carrying handicaps. Not everyone enjoys these hills. We see Tranter, Neep, just coming up to the crest at 11.6% at the moment. Back with the bots. I'm thinking somewhere mixed in here is Jeff. I think possibly Jeff's been... Oh, there's Jeff. Jeff dropped back a little bit to 52nd position. Not enjoying these climbs. Just while we're on this screen, it was noted that there's a potentially the option to add your team in now with your name. Let's see, as we're looking at all the bots here, we've got the bots are under Team Bot, and I believe that we were hoping at some point that we're going to add in the team name so you can have your team separate. You can see some of the riders like Ian Hurst, when we go back to Ian, has got his team after his name, but we're hoping that you'll be able to add in your team as a separate field, and then potentially that opens up a lot of other options within the game. As we see, just a bit of dueling now between Richard Akers and Barker now. So potentially you can have things like team only chat, so you could if you've had a selection, you've got a selection of your team, you can have the team only chat, which means that only your team would see the messages that you're sending out, but also things like the successful team time trial, which is put on by VCN and Lou Team, which in the moment takes place individually. All the teams pick their own time and they go off and they race, and the time's compiled afterwards, which works really well. But there is potential, if you had teams, you could have team drafting, and you might then be able to have a whole load of team time trials going on at the same time within one course. Desault, now this would be interesting. Desault hasn't given up yet, he's still pushing hard, and he is only 66 meters behind these racers. Barker and Richard Akers are still in sight. Now Desault is looking like he's a lighter rider than these guys, and this is a long drawn out climb. I think Richard Akers and Barker need to be wary of Desault, because he is gradually reeling them back in, and he could be taking the win here. But there is a plateau after this climb, which basically Desault, he's going to have to make it decisive on this climb if he wants to win this race, because he's going to have to go catch these guys, put in distance before he gets to that flat section. Otherwise they're just going to overhaul him again. He can't risk staying with them. See Richard and Barker putting in power again. Desault on a 12.6% gradient here. Just drop back briefly and we'll see Tartaruga, Shields, and then we're looking back here, Ian Hurst, and possibly the best performance I've seen him give in one of these races, is now overtaken Hutchinson, and not only that, but he's closing it in on Shields, and not too far in the distance there we can see Tartaruga. So this is a fantastic race by Ian Hurst. As I mentioned earlier on, you can see he's there, he's got 3R, he's a team 3R racer. He also has his age indicator there. Not quite sure on Ian's age, but he is a more senior rider. Again, fantastic thing about these races is that they allow competitors of many different age groups to take part and compete on a more even footing. You're not just getting the young whippersnappers winning it all the time. Shields must be able to see Ian Hurst closing on him now. The gap's down to 10 metres. They just run through a little bit of a flatter section now, and then instantly ramped back up again. Ian Hurst goes into that deep red power section. This is fantastic riding. Shields looks to have given up. I'm not sure if he just had a bit of a bad gear change there as we went through that flatter section, or whether he's decided that he's not going to be able to hold off Hurst and he's just saving his energy. See Hutchinson chasing on still as well. Well, Hurst has only got 122 metres to go until he picks off Tartaruga. Yeah, but real quick fly down the rest of the groups. But a bit of action up at the front that we want to keep on top of. We've got Hutchinson there, Titcomb, David Brookhausen dropping Lou Gelling there on that flat section as Lewis comes through in 10th position. Almeida being chased down by Chris Shackleton. And Harriet Rosler in very respectable 13th position there. Bent's chasing on. Reynolds just being overtaken by Jones there. And that was a very fortuitous wave at the camera. Ed Hume, Jonathan Wales, got Nutt there in 19th, he's recovered a position. I see Wooters in 20th, Van Leest and Darren Ray just suffering now on these later slopes in the race. Fantastic race in the early part there, he's being chased down by Jessen and Katie Warren. Rychek in 25th position, Tranter in 26th and Ludlow 27th, and then chasing on behind them is Neep, 28th position. Just further back, mixed in with the box. Got Jeff dropped back into 54th position. Just doing a real quick run there as we need to keep an eye on these guys at the front. Got Richard Akers chased by Barker coming up to the top of this climb, and this is going to be the decisive point in this race. We've got Desault chasing on in 3rd, but Desault hasn't made it back onto these guys, and I think with the way that the weight handicapping is going, I don't think Desault is going to be able to overhaul these two riders on the flat section, as we're on a 10.3% gradient now. Richard Akers putting in 4.2 watts per kilogram. He looks like he's perhaps paced his ride slightly better than Barker here, as Barker's down at 3.9 watts per kilogram, 3.8, and just not quite closing the gap. It's opening up 17, 18, nearing 20 metres now. Richard Akers just squeezing a little bit more out of the tank. Coming up to this crest now, still 10% gradient. Richard out the saddle, pushing, wants to get to the top of this climb first, wants to be the first into that section. With RGT, well, with most virtual platforms, you have your turbo trainer set up. Most people are on smart turbo trainers now. The resistance changes in line with the gradient shown on the screen. So when you're coming up to the top of one of these climbs, gear changing matters. You need to be on top of it. You need to have that second or two clear to make sure you can get the right gear and push on and hit your sweet spot again and get those gears spinning at the right time. See Barker's power dropping down there now in 2nd place. He's maybe just not found that right gear. Might be having a bit of a problem with his gear changing, but he's down at 2 watts per kilogram now. And Richard is only at 2.7, but you can see the gap opening up. It's going up to 46 meters now as we're entering the slightly flatter section. We're down at 3% gradient now, and Richard racing this really well. Long straight section now. We're going to be able to see how Barker responds and how this race plays out. We've got a little bit now, 4.2%, but now it's just eased right back again, and we're down at plus 1.5% on the gradient. And Richard putting in a little bit of an effort there, getting himself up to tempo. Cadence of 91. Great cycling cadence. They do say that for a road cyclist around about 90 is your perfect cadence. Not putting too much stress on the muscles, helping to clear all of the lactic and all of the waste products that the muscles produce as they're activating, and not going so fast that you're building up lactic because they're not able to clear quick enough. Richard now opened the gap up to 90 meters. He's only got 1.1 kilometers remaining in this race. As we go under the Flamme Rouge, and this is looking like a foregone conclusion for Richard now. 4 watts per kilogram. He's not easing off. He's putting in every effort now to make sure that he wins this race. Looking forward to raising his arms aloft and cheering as he goes over the line. 700 metres. And we're still pushing out 3 watts per kilogram now, coming up to the line. 500 metres left. 130 metre gap to Barker. Just about to see him, a couple of pixels right in the distance there. Richard able to ease slightly now, confident of his victory. Zipping up his jersey and waving to the crowd as he's going past. Only 250 metres left of this race for Richard, and he'll be enjoying these slightly easier sections as he's coming up to the finish line, being able to take a breather. 120 metres. We'll see now whether he puts in a sprint for show or whether he's just going to roll it over the line. And that's it. The race is won by Richard Akers. Fine riding. See Barker coming in 9th position. Desault, a good race from Desault, but he's just not been able to overhaul these two guys who worked really well to keep away from him. Did really well on the climbs. Desault's age category there by the side of him. He's a B cap, which I think makes him quite young. Is Tartaruga in 4th position, Portuguese rider. Coming over the line in 4th position. Quite often have a strong Portuguese contingent on the PRT races, brought over by Sergio Saldana, who runs the Portuguese branch of RGT. There's a Portuguese Facebook website for those who are looking for more information and looking to speak to your compatriots in your native tongue, find out about what's going on at RGT. There's Ian Hurst, who's had an absolutely fantastic ride here. He's coming home in 5th position and he's got 260 metres left to go and pushing out 2.6 watts per kilogram. You're doing fantastic, Ian. Great riding. He's got 160 metres left now, celebrating all the way. It's great to see him doing so well on this race. He's come from the back of this field all the way to the front. Really has played to his strengths this race and played to his weight handicap. He comes over the line in 5th position. Fantastic riding. He overhauls Shields on this climb. Shields putting in the effort now, up at 4.5 watts per kilogram. He's not wanting to lose his 6th position to Hutchinson, who's chasing hard, but I think he's left it a little bit too late in this race. Now Shields coming over in 6th position, Hutchinson in 7th, putting in a sprint of 5.8 watts per kilogram now. And David Brookhausen coming up in 8th position. David usually competing with Chris Bancross, but Chris been absent from the last 2 races. I think he had technical issues last time around. He's not sent in a note this time, so I'll have to give him a detention. David Brookhausen comes home in 8th position. He was riding with Lou Gelling earlier on this race. Takes his foot off the gas and coasts home these last 10 metres. Titcombe coming in 9th position, wearing the Team Lou colours. And we've got Lou Gelling, PRT. She recovered quite a few places on these hill climbs. As I said earlier on, ferocious rider on the hills. Ferocious rider full stop. But she really makes a presence felt on the hills. If you're ever riding with Lou on a flat section, try and get away from her, because if you stay with her on the hills, she'll just leave you for dead. Lou's coming over in 10th position. And we've got a battle here now. We've got Van Leest coming in 11th at the moment, 100 metres left to go, but we've got Chris Shackleton, Harriet Rosethorn and Ed Hume all sprinting it out behind him here. Oh, it's Chris Chris Shackleton, Ed Hume, Harriet Rowstone, oh, Jonathan Wales, Almeida. That was too close for me to call there. Sorry about that, guys. Chris Shackleton, Ed Hume, Jonathan Wales, Harriet Rowstone, and then Almeida came through in that order. Bent comes home, 17th position. Wow, that was some power being pushed out in that last little section there by that group. Jones, 18th position. Jones, 70 metres left to the finish line now. And Nut now. He's clear of Reynolds, the next closest rider on the road. He was dropping back a little bit earlier on, but he seems to have found second wind in his legs. And he's pushing on now, 3.3 watts per kilogram. He brings himself home in 19th position. Reynolds, 20th position, being chased by Rychek. I think it's more of a competition between Rychek and Jessen behind. It's now in 20th position. And then we've got Rychek. It's being chased down by Jessen, but I think Rychek is going to have this covered. Rychek putting in more power. Make sure he gets over the line safely in 21st position as Jessen comes over in 22nd. And Wouters being overtaken in the last seconds there by Katie Warren. Oh, Katie Warren putting in a sprint at the end to gain 23rd position as Wouters comes over in 24th. And Darren Ray in a very respectable 25th position here. Putting a lot of effort earlier on in the race and was really well positioned, but these hills really sap the legs, really drain your power. Tranter in 26th position. The other nice thing about these races is that Will designs them in a manner that really gets everyone home generally within about the hour mark. The watt per kilogram. Oh, Tranter there just kicking it for the line, not giving in, not rolling it, pushing out 6 watts per kilogram. Drop back now. See, still got Jeff back on the road. Oh, we've got Stuart Ludlow coming in 44th position. Stuart just cresting this long climb. Yes, Will always designs these courses with the idea that you race them fairly well. You come in around about the hour mark, well timed. And the beauty of working with the normalised power is that in general, all of the riders come in within a fairly close finishing time of each other. You don't get disheartened by being blown out the back of the race and then just being left to ride a solo TT on your own. For those riders who do have some issues, there are bots included as well, and that's the idea of the bots, is that you can get hooked onto a bot and you can roll yourself home in the bot and have that company. See Stuart there just coming to the top of this climb. It's easing off now, 4.0%, 4% to normal people, as Stuart just eases off slightly and he's going to roll home with this group of bots. Precision Race Team, Will does coaching for anyone that's interested. He did have a couple of spots open up on his coaching rota. I don't know if they've been filled now, but they have a website which is the Precision Race Team. If you Google Precision Race Team, it'll come up pretty much one of the top results. Head over there, have a look at what they do, see if the coaching's what you need, what you want in your life. Will's a fantastic guy, and he's surrounded himself with a load of other coaches who put in a load of effort and time with their clients and make the training a real fun experience. Type 2 fun. It's all Type 2 fun. Don't be getting confused and thinking you might be having real fun. But it's all good experience. It all mixes it up, and things like this race, which can be incorporated into the training plans, is something that's a bit different. You're not just watching numbers all the time. You can go and have a race effort and have some fun and get involved with a load of other riders and do something challenging and different and still be doing training. See, Christophe Contant's jumped on to watch the end of the racing. You have to rewind it, Christophe. You've missed a good chunk of it, but it's been some good racing tonight. It's well worth watching the battles that went on. It was close tonight. Going back to the personalization that you can do, you can choose between male and female avatars. There's a few different types of male and female avatars as well, but you can also choose your bike, which doesn't actually have an effect in game. Some people think like the Zwift way of thinking, where different bikes have a different effect and are better for different types of courses, but on RGT they've just made it all about the legs. There's no buying upgrades. It's just choose a bike, and that bike will weigh the same and react the same as the other bikes in the game, just look differently. We've got Stuart wearing the Precision Race Team top here, sporting it very well, and you can see the sponsors there: Hube, Specialized, Wahoo, Chimera, and there are a few other sponsors or groups involved with PRT as well. Coming home on this perfectly smooth road. I've got riding the Canyon Air Road. Those deep rimmed wheels, DT Swiss wheels. I'm pretty sure in Zwift have sponsor involvement, that whichever sponsor pays the most seems to get the fastest wheels and bike. That might be topical, but yeah, that's what it seems like, let's put it that way. Stuart comes in with 280 meters left now. See the finish line in the distance, rolling it home. RGT races are also a great friendly place to go. There's a friendly community in RGT. We try and make sure that everyone upholds the same sort of values and has the same sort of attitude to all the guys racing, and quite often you'll find that there are guys that jump in on the races, no intention of actually racing. They just want to get out there and enjoy the company of other real riders on the road. Now we just dropped back here to Jeff, and it looks like Jeff has stopped. I don't know whether he's taken a momentary break or whether he's had a technical there. Let's just take a moment to enjoy the views and the scenery in the Magic Road, and I think that's it for Jeff tonight. So all that's left for me to say is, if you enjoyed this stream, if you could like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. If you haven't, if you give your feedback on why you haven't as well, we'd love to hear your comments and what we can do to make the stream more interesting, what we can do to make it more engaging, and why you didn't feel it was right for you. Any feedback is good feedback, and we would love to see you on the road. We'll be promoting next Thursday's PRT Handicap event, which will be the last one of this season. But we'll be promoting that on the RGT users Facebook page. We'll be doing it on the VCN page as well, and we hope to see you out there on the road next time around. And catch you soon.